And now, here are your hosts, the Schnitzel Boys.
The other thing, this is sort of semi-related, but I would be more okay with intra-MLS moves, because there are not enough, and I guess the system precludes this, or the system forbids this, is I would like when Darlington Nagbe went to Atlanta, I'm like, I love that move. Like Kellen Acosta going to LAFC is a cool move. I want LAFC to get Kellen Acosta. I want them to go get Jesus Ferreira from FC Dallas. I want clubs to make intra moves to sign established players from other clubs. It seems like, I want LAFC to try to spend $1 million to get Aaron Long, or maybe get Walker Zimmerman back. Like, I want MLS clubs to value intra. Like, why isn't anybody giving Nashville $3 million for Hani Mukhtar? You know what I mean? Wouldn't NYCFC want a player like Hani Mukhtar? So, like, I want clubs to sign great players from within their league. And that's just something that MLS tries to forbid with their parity structure.
Well, they don't want...
I, for one, would be a fan of changing that, to be honest.
Well, I think this is something that people kind of agree on in general, that somehow in order for the league to grow, there should be some relaxation of these rules, or some to make it easier for people to compete. I think there's a battle. It's like, I've used this not on this podcast, but I've used this analogy. Like, MLS is like an old Manhattan co-op building. They have, some people bought in. Some people have had their apartments for 40 years. They bought them for $75,000 in the 80s.
Robert Kraft.
And now Robert Kraft. And now they have people coming in who are buying the same apartment for $2 million. And so those people they want the hallways to be renovated. They want the roof deck to be accessible, and the old owners are like, what? No, we just want the common charge. We just want the common charge to be low. We can't afford any of that. And I think that's
100%.
I think that is that's the conflict. And the more you have people coming in like Blitzer and like these new owners, it's gonna be eventually the tide is gonna turn. But
riddle me this: what's smarter? $15 million a year on Lorenzo Insigne, or $1 million a year on Damir Kreilach, Hani Mukhtar, Aaron Long, Tati Castellanos, Kellen Acosta, Jordan Morris. What's smarter? What's a better roster?
You don't have to sell me on that one. I think the Insigne deal, we've talked about that before. It's like, I think it's completely just the amount of money is just disproportionate in terms of the budgets of the league. So, I mean, we'll see how good he is. I'm sure he's going to be good, but how good would he have to be to make that worthwhile? But I agree with you. But I think
with letting that happen, like letting the American Super Club happen, it means the smaller clubs, because it already exists. There are the high-spending clubs and low-spending clubs. It's not that that's not a thing. The low-spending clubs is a great place for all these great MLS academies and colleges, this great talent to go make a name for themselves. Like, that's how it works. Hani Mukhtar goes to, let's say NYCFC becomes a super club. Hani Mukhtar goes to NYCFC, Walker Zimmerman.
What do you mean becomes a super club?
Yes, becomes a super club.
Can you see this cup on my hat?
I could see that you're going to have 2 home games in Los Angeles in 2 months. I could see that.
Yeah, we do need a stadium. That cannot be denied. Yes.
All right, let me pick a different example. Let's say Toronto becomes a super club that it's trying to be, which it is, and more props to them. Like when Hani Mukhtar goes to Toronto and Tati Castellanos goes to Toronto, and then there's some new kid from the NYCFC Academy who gets to be the new scorer for NYCFC. There's some kid from Nashville too, or maybe someone who showed up at Real Salt Lake gets to move over and make it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a natural order of things when someone, and it's also exciting to see whether players will go perform for their new clubs, will they perform together, will these super clubs work? You know, that's the kind of stuff that you're used to. And I won't just say in Europe. I lived in Brazil as a kid, and I remember right before I moved there, Palmeiras became a super club. They bought Rivaldo, they bought Roberto Carlos, they bought a lot of great Brazilians that we came to learn and love. They all played for Palmeiras in the 95-96 season because Palmeiras wanted to be a super club. How exciting is that? It's a national news story. People tune in. It's a fun thing. I would love for an MLS club to just go for it and be like, I'm going to buy all the highest value players the last 2 years and make a super team, you know?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, the Galaxy were that for a little bit, and
they try.
And they tried. I think this new, we mentioned it last week, and I just read something about it again. This new media deal that apparently is about to be announced over the next month or two. We're going to know and that's going to be a dramatic change in terms of how MLS is going to appear in media or streaming or whatever. However this goes, it's going to be a big difference to how it is now, and it's going to come with a large increase in income in one way or another, and that's and then it'll be interesting to see how that then affects if the league then takes that as an opportunity to relax the
Yeah. Like there's been a lot of improvements. I remember back in the day when I started watching, this is pre-DP, every MLS roster, their entire budget was, I think, $2.2 million. The entire 22 players, 25 players they had to have, you know. So long, you know, those days are long gone. But there's still a lot of improvement, especially if you want to match Mexico in the CCL. It's not the starting lineup, it's the bench, it's the depth.
Yeah, in fairness, there are these initiatives that do work. The TAM initiative that has improved the middle of the roster, the young DPs, and so it's not like nothing's happened, and it's not like these things don't work. But it's going to be interesting to see. Right. So it's going to be interesting to see once there's more money. Is that going to mean a little bit of sort of more flexible rules, or is it just going to be the same system kind of doubled in size? We'll see.
I feel that MLS is ready. I understand why it happened, and it was very smart. The single entity structure was designed mainly by one Sunil Gulati, former U.S. soccer president, who was working for the league at the time. I believe that MLS has earned in its 25 years. They've done really excellent financial decisions. They're running very well like a tight ship. I think it's time to rip the salary rules, just to rip that up a little bit, to knock that a little bit wide open. I would love to simplify it, make it a little bit just more open. You can still have financial control. I like the way Major League Baseball does it. When a team like when a team signs a big player, they have to pay a luxury tax that goes to the other clubs. You know, there are certain rules you can that still keeps things relatively equitable, but doesn't tie the hand. Like I remember the New York Red Bulls had a player named Marcus Holgersson. He came in from Norway at like $300K a year, which for an MLS is big money. And he started off a little weak, but he earned his keep, but he became a rock solid center back. He was one of our best center backs, became a really key New York Red Bulls player. When it came time for contracts, they got rid of him simply because, like always, quote unquote, we need to free up cap space, end quote. Yep. I would love, he earned his contract, you know what I mean? I would love it if we were allowed to have signed him to $500,000 a year, you know, because he earned it. You know, he was a player that earned it. I hate the fact that you see that less, but I just hate the fact that a lot of off-season moves have to do with just cutting the cap all the time and things like that.
Yeah.
I would love players to be able to earn contracts, and, you know, I would just love to be a little more flexibility and openness on the MLS books. That's my wish for moving forward for MLS. That was just a Schnitzel Boys video on YouTube. Thanks for joining us. If you like that one, we've got a couple other ones right over here. And if you like that one, don't be afraid to subscribe, like, and ring that bell.
It's the Schnitzel Boys, it's the Schnitzel Boys, it's the Schnitzel Boys.